Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's Haley and today we're talking all about the 25th gift of acceptance. And underneath this title, I have acceptance underlined a few times and it says one of my favorite words, which is funny because I know I've said this before, but for whatever reason, a lot of the titles of these acidic states, gift frequencies happen to be my favorite words, like quintessence, acceptance, universal love. So yeah, the 25th gene key is loaded with some of my favorite words. Acceptance. And I think the reason that's one of my favorite words is it, in my mind, when I hear that word, it makes an image of someone with really big, loving arms hugging everything into existence. That's like the symbol I get for that word. So this 25th gift represents the portal to the true nature of the universe as love. Now we talked about true nature and what that could potentially look like in the last video. And here, Richard Rudd is pointing to the fact that the true nature is love, right? Is the universe as love. Universe being in love, universe presenting love, growing love, and evolving in love. So very simply put, our true nature is love. I've said this before, but I happen to think that love is equivalent to presence and peace and many, many other words, but primarily those two are the ones that help me get a conceptual understanding on love. Although once again, words can only point towards this effervescent, ever-evolving nature. So yes, think of true nature as love or as whatever else helps you kind of envision this presence. So the 25th gift, acceptance, is the portal to this true nature, to this love, to this presence, to this peace. It's the doorway. It's the chasm a person has to cross in and through in order to come into alignment with what they really are. Acceptance is based on taking the soft approach to life. The soft approach to life. So let's quickly brainstorm what that could be. The soft approach to life could be calming, slow, gentle, warm. The soft approach to life. A soft approach to life. Just what comes up for you when you think about that? And for example, how would you take the soft approach to life in reference to making your morning coffee? And then inversely, how would you take the hard approach to life while making your morning coffee? Right? We could say the hard approach to life in the lens of making coffee could be super rushed. You kind of maybe add a little bit extra because you're feeling stressed and you feel like you need that extra boost. You're on the phone while you're doing it. And then you're out the door and I forgot to put the creamer in. Took the hard approach to life in reference to making coffee. Whereas maybe the soft approach to making coffee could be wake up slow, stay in bed an extra few minutes, not because I'm still sleeping, but just because I'm observing the way the morning light's coming in, rolling out of bed consciously on the other side, because I always roll out on this side, and I'm taking the soft, slow, calm approach to life today. Sauntering over into the kitchen, smelling the coffee grounds before you roast them, really watching the hot water as the steam rises out of the French press. And when you pour it, having fun as you kind of elongate the pour and shorten it, right? This would be taking the soft approach to life in reference to this example of making coffee. So I invite you to think of a scenario that you do perhaps every day, something normal and common, like making coffee, and then brainstorm what it would look like to have the soft approach to life while doing this activity. And then ask yourself, is this how I usually do this activity? And what you'll find is that even if you take the soft approach to life, you can always become a little bit softer, a little bit slower, a little bit more intentional. And if you want to take it the next step, you can invite yourself to demonstrate that the next time this activity rolls around inevitably in your daily activity. And as I say this, I'm thinking, tomorrow I'm going to make an even softer approach to life as I make my coffee. And once again, the reason for all of this is because he says here that acceptance is based on taking the soft approach to life, meaning when I practice taking the soft approach to life through my morning coffee or my walk or that meeting with my boss, I'm actually cultivating acceptance, which once again is the portal to my true nature, to love, to peace, to oneness. The path of love is the path of acceptance. He says it right there again for us, which is funny because I forgot that he said that. So there he is. He affirms it for us. Love and acceptance are equivalent. Same thing. The soft approach is the path to love. And I want to be very clear here. This makes it sound as if love or the soft approach is a destination that the individual arrives at. But actually, you'll find as you practice it, you're actually in it already. You're actually engaging in love, being love, with love, as you take the soft approach to life. So yeah, keep in mind that words are very constrictive, ironically enough, right? That's our shadow frequency. And they only point us to understanding these higher wisdoms and concepts. He emphasizes here that acceptance is not a technique, but more of a seeing. Right? We can sit here and try to logically understand, okay, how to accept, how to do this technique of acceptance so I can become my true nature. But really, the best way to understand acceptance is to practice it. Practice the soft approach to life. By being present while I make my coffee, I naturally download the frequency and wisdom of acceptance. It's more of a seeing, it's more of a being. And I love to remind myself of this, that action downloads conceptual knowledge that's trapped in my mind, in the part of me that wants to figure it out and know it all, into my whole entire being, into my subconscious mind and body. And this is where we see real change occur, right? When the person's actions are actually changing, not just the way they think. Okay, so then he brings up this fun topic, which is like, okay, yeah, this sounds all fun and dandy. Like, take the soft approach to life. Like, just accept everything. Then you come into your true nature of love. Sounds easy, right? Okay, but then what happens when, there's actually this thing about myself that I can't accept, right? Like, I'm really insecure about the way my eyebrows look, or maybe I can't accept that I got broken up with. Nope. No, it just doesn't sit well with me. I can't get over the loss of my loved one, right? There's these things in our life that surface in seemingly minuscule or large ways, and they're things that we can't seem to get over, let go of, or accept. In which case, how do I take the soft approach to life if I can't let go, if I can't get over this? And so this is what he starts to address here. Excuse me. In order to accept something about yourself or your environment, and especially something uncomfortable or agonizing or irritating or annoying or disgusting or so insecurity filled, in order to accept these kinds of things, it must first be recognized. And so I read this and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know I've totally jumped the gun in trying to figure out how to get over it. And he's like, whoa, hold up. The first step, which is all we should really be focusing on, because you can't get to the rest of the journey without taking the first step, is recognizing that which you cannot accept. Let's just sit with that for a second. We'll get to the rest later, right? We'll get to the how to let go and how to accept. Right now, let's just focus on what it is and give it ample attention and energy and recognition, that which I cannot accept. So this is a pretty fun activity. And by fun, I mean uncomfortable. Really sitting down with the things you can't accept and giving them enough time to fully surface. Because I think so often we jump the gun. Okay, yeah, I get it. Now how do I let go of it? That's not a very loving energy. Oh, I see you and I can't wait to get rid of you. That is like the opposite of acceptance. So let's really sit down and see what we're working with in the first place. It must first be recognized. Once again, recognition is different than just simply looking at it. Recognition is, oh, I see you and I remember you. I understand you to a certain degree. And so this is what we must do with each and every one of the aspects of our lives and ourselves that we cannot accept. Really sit with it. And you might be asking yourself, well, how do I know if I've fully recognized it? How do I know if I've sat with it long enough? And trust me, you will know because you will get extremely uncomfortable. And then you'll have to sit through that discomfort until of its own accord it alleviates itself. Acceptance, once again, is not something you do. It's not a technique. It's a being, it's a seeing, it's a sitting with the discomfort until of its own accord it leaves. Acceptance is something that just does itself. It's not something you, the individual, does. And so this is really interesting, right? Because, I mean, I can totally relate when I'm sitting there with something that's really difficult and then I'm trying to brainstorm how to get myself out of it or how to get over it or how to get under it or through it. And realistically, Richard Rudd's trying to gently remind us that this is not how it's done. There's nothing to be done. There's just something to be sat with and recognized. This is more about building up the courage to look into your own shadow, is what he says here. Acceptance follows me having the courage, the strength, and the patience to sit with that which makes me feel uncomfortable. Acceptance naturally follows. It's a part of the natural ebb and flow of life. So in the 25th shadow, we kind of went over the biofeedback loop of constriction, addiction, right? This downward spiral into fear. And so the only way to break this loop is having the courage to feel the fear, which is another fancy way to say sit with your discomfort. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to accept it or let it go or fix it. Fix it is a perfect kind of way to say this. When you notice you're uncomfortable, don't try to fix it. Have the courage to sit with it, and this is the doorway, right? Courage is the doorway to acceptance. And acceptance is the doorway to our natural state of being, which is love. So I like that sentence because, if we're going to take away anything from this entirety chapter, he says the only way of breaking this loop is to have the courage to simply feel the fear. Only. The only way out is through. You cannot get around this step. You have to sit with how you feel. And if you don't, then you will continue to stay stuck in that constriction, addiction cycle. So courage is a choice. And one of the beautiful things I find about reading texts like this and making videos like this is it's a lot easier to make a choice when you're aware of what the choices are. So choosing to sit with how I feel is a choice that I can make. And there's no rush, right? I have all of eternity to decide to sit with how I feel. And whenever I feel ready, feel courageous enough, I can choose to step through that portal. And also the David R. Hawkins map of consciousness, which I love to reference quite often on this channel. Courage on his map of consciousness is 200 hertz, and it is the point of transmutation. And this is really the theme across all of the shadow, going from shadow to gift. It sits at this transmutation point of courage, going from low vibration to high vibration, going from unaware to aware, going from victim to subconscious choices to I get to actively consciously choose. And this doesn't mean that it's easy. It's not. Just because you know you have a choice doesn't necessarily make it any easier to make the choice. Like, it does and it doesn't. So I just want to be clear about that. It's not like, as you know, it's not like you can just conceptually understand something sometimes and just do it right away, right? Like, I can sit here all day and be telling you guys, oh, it's all just love your neighbor. And then, I go and accidentally yell at my neighbor if he bumps into my car or whatever. So we can conceptually understand things and then still fall victim to our subconscious programming, and that's okay. That's part of learning. And most important part is getting up again and attempting to have the courage to put these things into action. There's a great secret of acceptance. And this secret is that it's a physical sensation. And so the perfect example of this that I can give is if you've ever been really, really, really upset, say you're having a meltdown, you're crying, a panic attack, anxiety attack, something of this nature. You cry, and eventually you have to stop crying because you cannot cry forever. Although some of us can cry for a few hours. But eventually your body gets tired and it stops crying, and it usually falls asleep or it calms down. And if you've ever felt this, you know just how peaceful and kind of almost odd it is when you either realize you've stopped crying and you're in this half awake, half asleep state, or you quite literally wake up because you were crying so much you fell asleep. You kind of wake up in this almost daze and like, that was weird kind of feeling. And so this is kind of what acceptance starts to feel like to the person who is in the beginning stages of starting to understand and step into acceptance. It feels unfamiliar and kind of like weird but familiar. Unfamiliar but familiar. It's the most unfamiliar, familiar feeling you've ever had. This is what acceptance feels like, at least to me. And of course, I'm curious to see you who's watching if you think you've ever experienced acceptance, even in a small way. What did it feel like in your body? Comment below, because Richard Rudd says that there's a physical sensation that's paired with acceptance. And who knows, maybe what I feel in my body is different than what you feel in your body. But nonetheless, I think there's a very prominent, palpable sensation in the body. And it's important to know what that is as it's coming on. So we'll recall that the name of this 25th gene key as a whole is called the myth of the sacred wound. Here he gives that sacred wound a name. He calls it fear, which is different than the primordial wound of separation and thinking we're a separate self. But really, sacred, primordial, fear, or feeling separate, all kind of the same thing, right? So fear is what secures a person into the shadow frequency of constriction. Fear to feel. And then inversely, having the courage to feel. Again, that doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable. It still very much is. Having the courage to feel is what starts to heal the sacred wound, open the gateway to love. Accepting whatever you feel at any given moment builds its own momentum in your life. And eventually, you will start to feel very different, right? If every single time an emotion comes up and you do your best to accept it, over time, this will compound and you will start to feel different. A very simple example, if you one day wake up and you're like, I want to really work on my health and vitality. And every single day, instead of reaching for, the croissant for breakfast, you reach for some scrambled eggs. Maybe at first you won't notice a difference, but over the course of even a month, you will see a dramatic difference in the way that you feel. Right? The vitality moving through your bones and body in the morning is much different when you reach for something whole food and non-processed versus something that is processed and refined. So in the same way, as we start to practice feeling our feelings, over time, this will compound to a very, very significant result. And one thing I'll just add is accepting whatever you feel at any given moment, right? This is what he says. Sometimes you need to put on your little detective goggles and really feel into it, because it can be layered, right? Sometimes it's not as simple as I feel sad. Sometimes it's, well, I'm just mad because I don't want to feel sad. Wait. So you're mad that you feel sad? Right? Sometimes it's layered. And so sometimes sitting with how you feel is not a quick, just like, okay, I feel angry. It's no, actually, I feel angry, I feel annoyed, I feel agitated, I feel guilty. It's a mixture. And I think for me, one activity that I love doing that sounds very, very silly, but I do have to say at least it works for me, is if I find myself in this kind of layered emotion, you could say, this fractal of low vibration, and I don't even really know where to start. I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, I feel so much right now and I don't even know what I feel. I will literally get a journal and I will say, I feel blank, and just keep filling in that sentence. I feel mad at my sister. I feel mad that I'm mad at my sister. I feel upset that I can't feel love for my sister. I feel. I let myself go as long as I want. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 20, but eventually, same as when you cry, all the feeling comes out, and then I'm left with, okay, and this is just how I feel. And once again, fully recognizing is the way to liberate. And whether you do this through a physical activity like I just offered you, or you simply sit in your bed and cry, is up to you. There's a masculine approach and a feminine approach, and then there's probably more approaches than that I haven't brainstormed here, of course. But whatever you need to do to feel the feeling, or not to. It's funny, right? This is so kind of like, we're just talking about something that can be looked at in infinite ways. But yeah, that's one thing that I find helps me accept whatever I feel at any given moment. The more you practice this, the more you will really feel different after time elapses. And this, of course, opens the doorway to experiencing more life itself. I'm starting to feel different because I'm starting to practice feeling what I feel, which means I can actually be here now and observe the way the light comes in, how soft my hair is, what breath feels like as it enters my body. So you actually start to experience more of life itself, which is a really beautiful byproduct of acceptance. Right? And life itself is energy. It's the energy and the optimism and the happiness you need to create that new invention or idea or creation or job opportunity. It's the energy you need to be a better partner. It's the energy you need to cook a nice meal for someone you love. It's the energy you need to paint something or draw something or write a love letter to your neighbor. It's energy you can use for literally anything. The more you experience life, the more life you have to navigate with, work with, and create with. So optimism, he really pins down here, once again, is a natural springing from acceptance. And if you've ever felt truly optimistic, you know just how free, flowy, silly, fun, sunny you feel. It's a really nice feeling. And it's momentous. Just as fear is momentous in the downward spiral, optimism is momentous in the upward spiral. Even at the gift level of frequency, suffering still exists, and it keeps returning to test your level of acceptance. So I'm going to rephrase this to say that all suffering is an opportunity to practice acceptance. For example, when you go to the gym to get those big muscles, you don't do the same easy workout every day, because eventually what once was hard, if you practice it enough, it becomes easy. You need something to challenge you. So in that same way, we need something to challenge us so that we can grow into more of our acceptance. So seeing suffering or feeling bad as an opportunity to feel more of how I feel so that I can accept more of life and have that spring of optimism flourish is a beautiful reframe, in my opinion. And I just want to emphasize here, it's not that some, God is like, oh, I'm going to make them suffer so they can learn more. And this is something I've contemplated a lot. I don't believe that God is this condemning, judgmental, oh, you're going to learn your lesson the hard way type of figure. I don't believe it's calculated or manipulative. Nature is just spontaneously occurring. God is just spontaneously evolving. And byproduct of that is things happening, in which case some of the things happening I view as suffering. But that doesn't mean it's an absolute, right? Everything in and of itself is empty of a nature. What I view as suffering to the whole, to God, to someone else, might be viewed as nonchalant, chill, or even a step in the right direction. So I just really want to emphasize that God is not this all-pervasive force that is inducing suffering in order for people to evolve. And this is something I've had to sit with for quite a while. So there's a lot to say here. And I guess the last few things I'll just point out is that he once again reminds us acceptance is not something you can easily learn. It's something that of its own accord keeps flourishing within you. And the more you choose to tango with it, the more it blossoms in you. And the more accepting you are, the more life will test you. The more eager you are to grow, the more you're putting that desire out. So you will be presented opportunities to grow, you betcha. I know I have. But it's a well-equipped gift, right? Every time we transcend a point that we seem to not be able to accept and then finally fall into that spontaneous acceptance, we get flooded with optimism and positive momentum. That is the fuel that we need to get over that next hurdle or test. When you can finally accept everything in your life just as it is right now, you will have embraced the human wound of fear. The more you can accept yourself and others, the more love will bloom in your life. It is as beautiful and as simple as that. It's as beautiful and as simple as that. That's the last line in that chapter. So yes, stay tuned for the next video where we talk about universal love. That's actually my favorite words paired together. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another Gene Keys video with me. If you're interested in working one-on-one together, feel free to email me. It's in the description box below. We can work together on reading your Gene Keys, which I just started doing for people, which is really exciting. I also offer one-to-one coaching where we can meet together to work through insecurities, blockages that you have, and just really stepping into the best, brightest version of yourself. So I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.